With the next patch, we'll see a nerf to Void Shield. As such, the decision of early penetration items becomes a little more complex again, as Void Shield is not the go-to goal in all situations anymore. In this video, we'll be looking at the differences in DPS and ability damage between Brawler's Beatstick as the epitome of a penetration damage item, Titan's Bane with its percentage penetration, and Void Shield with the increased price and the protection reduction, in addition to some extra defense over the other items. Before we get any further into it, a quick reminder of what has changed about Void Shield. The price has been increased by 100 gold to 2,700 in total, and the physical protections on the item have been decreased from 50 to 40. All in all, Void Shield now gives 30 physical power, 40 physical protection, and 20 protection reduction for 2,700 gold. Meanwhile, Brawler's Beatstick has 40 physical power, 20 physical penetration, not reduction, and reduces healing by 40% for 8 seconds. Same going for regeneration for 2,400 gold. Titan's Bane is the cheapest one of the three with 2,050 gold, 30 physical power, and 33% physical penetration. Now, we can't cram all eventualities and so on into one video on this topic, so I'll give this some outlines in order to be capable of doing some calculations with it and understanding how it works. What we're going to do is we're going to look at all of these penetration items in a third slot built after Warrior Tabi and Jotunn's Wrath, simply because it's more likely to build Jotunn's Wrath early again now with the price increase and the protection decrease on Void Shield. So I expect this to be picked up a lot more, and then it's more about what are you going to build next. Obviously, sometimes you're just going to go into CDR right away, but if you're not going to defense CDR and you're going for more offensive options, you're not looking for Hydra Star, then these are your potential items that increase the damage the most, the Maces or the Void Shield. As such, we have a character that will be around that level 13, where you can buy your third item, and I'll be looking at two characters here. One is Hunbatz, in which we will just check out 3 abilities and his normal DPS, as Hunbatz has normal ability damage and average scaling for an assassin, and is an ability focused character. Obviously he can work with crit as well, but we're gonna leave that out for now. And we will be looking at Thor, who has very high scalings, and we're only gonna look at the combo of Anvil of Dawn and Berserker Barrage here, as that's enough to get an idea of how he works differentiated from Hunbatz. So, quick summary: Warrior Tabi, Jotunn's Wrath, level 13. Which of the items are you gonna build next? And in order to compare these, we also have to look at different gods they're fighting against. Depending on that, they will have different amounts of physical protection, and that will have an impact on the effectiveness, especially of Titan's Bane, in comparison to the other two. So let's begin with Hunbatz. Now, to get an idea of a weak target in terms of protections, we're going to compare Hunbatz damage against another Hunbatz, also level 13, obviously. And the numbers are relatively in favor of Brawlers here. So Brawlers leads the charge with 190 DPS, Void Shield still at 180, and Titans is a little bit behind with 176. However, while Titans is the weakest option in terms of DPS and combo damage here, it is also the cheapest one, with being already 350 gold cheaper than the Brawlers option, and even more behind the Void Shield option in that regard. So the combo is Somersault plus Overhand Smash and Sacred Monkey, total scaling of 225%. The combo with Brawlers does 850 damage, with Titans it does 810 damage, and with Void Shield it does 830 damage. So these values are not that different, to be honest. There is a slight decline, you get like a 30-40 difference when you use your combo, which can be important on squishy targets, and you get a DPS difference of 15 at best, which is really not too bad in my opinion. However, it's important that you kill squishy characters as fast as possible early on, and as such, the benefit of Brawlers can be there. Now this is against a very squishy target, keep that in mind. If we're looking at a more tanky target, for example, an Agni with Dynasty Plate Helm, the power kind of shifts a little bit. Here we have a DPS of 160 on Brawlers with a combo damage of 715. We have a DPS of 157 on Titan's Bane, but the combo damage is slightly higher due to the way that scalings work, and you have 722, or 23 even. And with Void Shield, you're gonna fall a little bit behind with 152 DPS or 699 combo damage. So Void Shield is already behind here, and with Void Shield not offering all that much anymore in comparison to the others, I'm not so sure if it's still favorable. Yes, you get some extra protections, which will be nice in the direct trade against the physical. But 40 physical protections is not crazy, and you gotta pay a lot more for it. You're paying 650 more gold than for Titan's Bane, while not exactly getting the highest damage benefit. Now, obviously, damage is not everything, but it's something worth keeping in mind. With Brawlers, which is still okay in terms of DPS here, you at least get the healing reduction on top of that, which I think can, depending on the situation and depending on the matchup, be more or less beneficial. And now let's look at a very tanky target. So this could either be a Ymir with Sovereignty and Height of the Urchin on 2 stacks, or it could be a Tyr with Breastplate of Valor and Height of the Urchin 2 stacks, something like that. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's level 13, the values here will be kind of similar. So with Brawlers, you here have 98 DPS, with Titans is 109 DPS, and with Void Shield it's only 93 DPS. The combo damage is similar. With Brawlers it's 437, whereas with Titan's Bane you still deal 502 on the combo, and with Void Shield you're at 427. So what does that mean in the context? You will see that there is a quite significant damage difference between Brawlers and Titans here. You get roughly 60 damage more, depending on the exact target. And that's quite a lot in my opinion, maybe even 65 damage on the whole combo. Now, obviously, this is a little more than the 30 difference we had in the other direction early on. So with Titans being cheaper, you obviously have a benefit here. And looking at the same stats for Thor, we will not go through them in detail, but you're basically getting the same results. Despite of having higher scalings, the DPS values are kind of similar, and the combo damage values are kind of similar, as the Titan's Bane damage will get significantly more the tankier the target gets. This is obviously a reason of the logic behind this is percentage damage, so it's nothing that is all too surprising, but it's still worth knowing exactly how much it is. So in a scenario where you're fighting against the Ymir with the Thor combo, only with his ultimate and Berserker Barrage, which you fully land, you will get a damage difference of more than 70. And that's only against Brawlers, and even against Void Shield it's nearly, not quite, but nearly 100 extra damage on the whole combo. So the situations where you end up with Brawlers being more beneficial are those where you are exactly looking to kill squishies that have no defensive items. Question is, how often are you going to see those? You're going to see a lot of mages building into Dynasty plate helmet. Not so much anymore, but they're still there. You will probably still see some players building into Void Shield for a while at least. You will see some players build into Shifter's Shield. You will see some solo laners building into Breastplate of Valor, unless they're against a very magical damage-focused character. You will see tanks building into some kind of physical defense almost all the time, so you're just left with hunters. And if you're in that kind of matchup, you should just go Titan's Bane, third item, all the time. It's a kind of awkward situation, I find, personally, because I feel like that Brawler's Beatstick is something that is very, very suited for the third slot. But really, the scenarios where you really want Brawlers over Titans are those where the enemy team has a healer, or has strong healing capabilities of other sorts, like strong HP 5 or something like that, or where the enemy team has multiple squishies that are not building defense. I would say, if you are against a team with a hunter, a mage in middle, or a mage wherever, whatever, and an assassin in the jungle that all don't build any sort of physical defense, then you could go straight for Brawlers, or you could debate going for Void Shield just because of the extra defense. But keep in mind that's more expensive. But in any other scenario where there are at least 3 players building a little bit of defense, Titan's Bane should now be the better choice. This is not only focused on abilities, but also on basic attacks. Now keep in mind this is only relevant for ability-based characters, as anyone with more attack-focused damage is rather going into Executioner, and the DPS values and ability values will be very, very different there. But for those who are ability-focused, I would highly recommend Titan's Bane at this point over many other choices that are there. Now there is still Shifter's Shield, which has a bit of an awkward spot. Obviously, it is lower when it comes to DPS, but it has that nice benefit from scaling, and it has some protections. It's a bit of everything, really, in my opinion. And as such, I wouldn't dismiss it. But I feel like I would rather either go into Shift the Shield, third item, and then go into Titan's Bane next, or build it second, or just do Titan's Bane and then go Shifters. But you kind of want to have Titan's Bane along with Shifters if you're building them, simply because that's the easiest way to make up for the lack of penetration on that item. Because Titan's Bane is not only expensive, but it also gives you a larger amount of penetration than most other items in most situations. And if you already have more power due to Shift the Shield, then you're not as dependent on that as if you were to only build Brawlers, which kind of relies a little more on the power for the damage. So in conclusion, Titan's Bane most of the time, if they have 3 characters with defense. Otherwise, you're going for Brawlers, or Void if you really think you need it at this point. And this is comparing them on level 13. If you're gonna get to that part of the build much later, which you shouldn't, then you should probably opt for Titan's Bane anyways. First of all, because it's cheaper, but also because the enemy will have more defenses. Once again, this is a 3rd slot theory right here, because we are gonna have Warrior Tabi and we're gonna have Jotunn's Wrath, and I think in most situations this is what we're gonna stick with for now. With that, thank you guys for watching. I hope to see you next time. Also, Brighton and London have been great. I'm back home now, so I will try to answer some more comments again and stuff like that. I will try to work on that 25k special. Maybe it's gonna be a 30k special. Who knows? We'll see. Duke Sloth, out.